YourStory has profiled stories of over 14,000 entrepreneurs and has provided business networking opportunities to over 50,000 entrepreneurs through conferences and meetups. Let me invite Mrs. Shradha Sharma, founder and chief editor, YourStory, to deliver a speech on storytelling to build your brand. Shradha Sharma held senior positions in leading media organizations like the Times of India and CNBC TV 18. Today, YourStory is driven by Shradha's vision to create a hub of thousands of entrepreneurs across India. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome her with a huge round of applause to hear about how to build yourself into success story.
Thank you so much. Very good afternoon to all of you. No, this is fine, I think, now. Now, I don't know about Coimbatore's energy because I've come here for the first time, but I definitely know that great lunch. I enjoyed the lunch because there were a lot of good things, and after that story session is really not good. Because since childhood, our mothers, fed us and told us stories, and then we went off to sleep. So guys and girls and all the ladies and gentlemen, I want all of you to be very, very awake. Can I request you to please switch off that light if possible? Okay, so a disclaimer before I start the session is I'm not going to give any prescriptive session on what you need to do, how you need to do, because somewhere I intrinsically believe that all of us in this room have the power, have the uniqueness and the greatness and and that special thing there that we all can say a story, right? And all of us can say a story very, very beautifully. So last year, let me tell you a story. Last year, I went to US, and that was my first trip to US. And I was very nervous, right? I went alone, took a flight, went to Dubai, from Dubai 16 hours, went to Silicon Valley, because that's what everyone talks about, right? Technology, innovation, all big things happening over there. And I just landed, because I was like, okay, we're writing about entrepreneurs, and we need to be there. And I just landed there, and I was meeting everyone, and suddenly I got a chance to speak in one, at Stanford University, which it was like a hall full of people like you, and I had to say something, right? And not make a fool of my country, not make a fool of what I do, and do it properly. And this is what I told them. I said, you guys in MBA in the most premier institute of the world are specializing and studying storytelling, but I come from a land and a country which has the oldest, the best, and the most glorious stories. And I asked them, which is that country? Suddenly, all of them said, of course, it's not difficult to make out, I'm not white, but all of them said India. And to me, it felt very proud. And today I'll tell you why all of us should feel very proud. It's very, very important that somewhere we think someone else can speak very well. We think someone else can teach very well. So we think some other engineering college is very well. We think someone is dressed very well, someone is good. But the point is, all of us have this very well, right? And we've forgotten somewhere that we all have been born in a country where we tell stories. Oldest stories ever told. Longest poem ever recited. Honestly, I had also forgotten, so I did my homework last year. And largest repository of short stories. Now, nobody in the world can dispute. On innovation, we can have disputes. But on stories, we definitely do not. Just to give you a qualifier, today I'll tell you the tricks of telling stories. And this is going to be very simple, because all of you, as a parent, as an individual, as a professional, as an Indian, as someone in Coimbatore, as someone in engineering, as faculties, as business professionals, as event organizers, me over here, all of us will have to tell stories moving forward. First, I'll tell you why, and second, I'll tell you how. You all can be like master storytellers. And I'll not give any gyan. I'm not going to talk over the top stuff. This is going to be very real, because I want all of you to stick this to stay, so that all of you can tell great stories. One is that till now, why I am qualified, because since last 7 years, I've been writing stories. So I've written more than 13,500 stories of entrepreneurs from across the country. I was working with Times of India and CNBC, and my whole quest, I was in Bombay, and my whole quest was that if all of us write about people who are superstars, right? When someone becomes very big, then we all want to write. You'll read it in the front page of TOI, front page of Hindu, front page of, or in the newspaper when you are like very big. But when you are not, when you are just me and you, when you are just starting up, you have so much to say. Right now in this room, I get a chance to speak, but I'm sure if all of you are given a chance to speak, all of you will have, with much probing and much working upon, you all definitely have a great story which can be polished, right? And who will write about those stories? As a country, we all love successes. But why not write about failure? Why not just stick out and just do it? And that's how I started doing 7 years back. I've continued to do it because people like you and people all over the country continue to read and I continue to write. And these are some of the stories I want to quickly tell you about. This girl wrote to me 2 weeks back. She said, "Shradha, I'm like you." I was like, okay, fine. She said, "I'm very confident, I'm very determined, but very early in my life, I was diagnosed with cancer. My doctor told me that you're not going to live. He said that in next 6 months, you have 6 months and you're not going to live." She said, "I told to the doctor that I will live and I will come at 40 and come and meet you." She said, "I'm still to reach 40, but I'm living, right? Because I said I refuse to believe that I'm going to die in 6 months." And today, she started an online company, which is a marketplace for private jets in the country. She started this out of Bombay. And she says, every day whenever I find difficulty in my business, every day someone says, "You're going to fail." Every day someone says, "Oh, this is too big a thing, you're dreaming of getting all the private jets together online." She said, I always remember the days when I was going through chemotherapy. Right? If I can go through chemotherapy and I can smile there, then these business challenges are nothing. To me, that's a powerful story. To me, that agony, that emotion is a great story. And today, this girl is really doing well. I think Ramesh Babu's story, all of you must, at least some of you must have read. Anyways, let me plug in, please, all of you after this, read your story. Okay, I'm giving you a great teaching today on storytelling tricks. Read it. See, Ramesh Babu, barber, fought without parents, took care of his aunt, and today he's a millionaire. This is in our country. This is not happening in US. This is not happening in somewhere else. This is very much our own India. People like you and me. And there's so many. And I met this professor from Dean from Trinity College in US. I met her here in India. She was here. And she said something very interesting. She said, before Facebook, before Twitter, before internet, India knew something which none of us knew. Tell me what? Socho? Tell. Huh? What? Stories, yes. Huh? What? My time is going. Tell fast. Voice Shastram. What is that? Yeah, but that is what? Right? We were sharing. And we had the culture of, what is it? It's called in Sanskrit. One is, what do we say? The word for friends, for sharing in Sanskrit? Anyways, I'm also not exactly remembering the word. But she said that word, what is today Facebook? What is internet? We are talking about sharing economy, right? But that was part of our culture when our culture started. And that has stayed. And to me, that was a great learning. And we account those kind of, they're like multiples. But let me tell you today why stories are important. As engineers, you all can solve problems, algorithms, right? A plus B is equal to C. I don't know what the engineering terminology is. But today, the world you live in, go back homes, the husband-wife equation, the child-son equation, the wife-to-husband equation, to business entrepreneur, to VC equation, to investor, to your manager. Those things are not going to be solved in A plus B is equal to C. Every day you're facing dilemmas, and the dilemmas will be solved only through stories. Now, I'm not saying this, so you don't have to believe me. This is like the biggest experts all over the world are unequivocally agreeing to this. Let me now tell you a structure of a story. And I request all of you to please remember this. Please remember, write down if you have to, because this is important. This is the secret sauce, the weapon, the thing that you need to know. What is the context of your story, right? And by context, what do you mean? Whom are you telling the story? Yesterday I did the same presentation to a class full of young people, right? People had come from Ecuador, Washington. So these were students who had come from all over the world, and I was telling them the same presentation. And my context was very different. And I today tell the same presentation to people who are on top of the students, right? To all of you, to very senior people. And the context which I spoke in yesterday will be very different the way I'm speaking today. The way I was dressed yesterday is very different from the way I am dressed today. The context is very important in a story. 4 questions. Where and when did the story happen? Gone are the days when you can say that ABC is the best engineering college in the world because ABC teaches chemicals, computing, blah, blah, blah. That is not. Everyone says, all of you will say, I'm the best professor because I get this. Everyone says. I'm the best entrepreneur because I make $1 million. No big deal. So many are making more. I'm the best teacher because, now the point is, you have to have a context, and most importantly, tell a true story. You'll go viral. You won't have to, even your CVs will go viral. What's a true story? And I can work with all of you, right, on your pitch. What is your pitch? What's your story? If someone tells me, I am based out of Coimbatore, and I am based out of Coimbatore because I think, why Bangalore, why any other city? Coimbatore. In Coimbatore, I dream to be the Silicon Valley of the world, and this is what I create with my institution. How do I do this? I do this every day. I might not have the best infrastructure, but I have the passion of working 24/7. A story, tell a real, or I was always born in Coimbatore. Context, true. Every time, just go back. Any story which is true stays. None of us like jargons. None of us like bullshits. None of us like over-the-top things. Like, we want real stuff. Look at the media, look at the content, look at everything around you. Be true, and you'll see how you touch the heart. Who is the main character? In your stories, you'll be the main character. Your main character cannot be a superstar. Your main character has to have flaws. What is your flaw? Yeah, today I realized, my flaw, I didn't even realize that I'm wearing a slippers, right? Big flaw. Like thinking on a stage, you need to be very professionally dressed. And I realized, oh no, my colleague made me realize, well, how can you wear? I said, no, this is red color. This will not go as a chappal. This is like proper. We can, but the point is, it's real. If I tell you this story, it is a real story, right? I'm not saying that, hey, here I am, an expert of storytelling. The point is, be real. As a character, the more vulnerabilities you show, the more real you show, anywhere. Trust me, anywhere and with anyone, in any context, it works. What does the character want, right? Like I heard some of you speaking to some of the panelists outside, I could just hear while I was walking, one of the panelists speakers said, okay, you can send me your CV, I don't have my card, you can send me your CV. And I heard many of you going and asking for someone maybe, kind of stuff, right? Like, to me, like if I want someone to remember and give me a job, what will I say? There are so many contexts. What does the main character, you just look at a room full of people. Like out of 100 people, if I have to choose one person for a job, or I have to choose one person to be a speaker, how? The thing is, what does the character want? Your want does not have to be, I want to make $1 million rupees, or I want to change the world, I want to change humanity. Then you should apply for Miss India, right? Like it has to be real. And what is that? And it has to be larger than you. Look at any entrepreneur. Look at people around you. Like it, and sometimes people get enamored by, personally, I am very motivated by Steve Jobs, right? For me, the motivation comes because he made design accessible to all of us. Right? And he made design reach all of us. He thought something and it changed the way the world did things. But he did not think that, oh, this is for me, this is what I want to achieve, or something like that. What's your larger goal? And look at us. We all get attracted to the larger goal. We all love Rajnikant, right? I hope all of you do. Do you? I thought in this part of the world you do, definitely, right? Yes? Yeah, I also don't like Shah Rukh Khan. But anyways, coming to the point is that why do we love him vis-a-vis others? Now that's another subject matter in itself. But somewhere if you go deep, then you'll realize the cause is much larger. He's a representation of, the best and the energy and the vibrancy of Tamil Nadu. And he's proud about that. He stands for that. And that's why people align to it, right? So what does the character want? Please remember, what do you want? And your story has to reflect your want. And your want can't be, I want 2 apples. And who or what is getting in the way? You have to have a villain in your story. You can't have a story without a villain, right? If it's a fairy tale, nobody loves it. All of us say, oh, very nice, but we all forget it. Look, and if the story has, the more tragedy a story has, the more trauma a story has, the more bad your villain is, the more people will sympathize with you, right? The more viral your story will get, the more, pain you have in your story. And please ensure that your story has that. You can't have a story, hey, I was born, my father is very rich actually, he has a lot of money, and it was easy for me to start, and now I have like 4 or 5 cars, and I'm planning to expand to US, and nobody will even listen to me. But if I say, I come from Bihar, I was born in the most backward state of India, and the time I was growing, it was very bad for girls. I was born in a family with 4 daughters. It was very traumatic growing up. Politically it was very bad. And I always had an ambition that I'll become a strong, independent woman. I'll not be a liability on anyone, right? I'll be a modern woman, I'll be a real woman, and I'll be a woman who is very independent, right? Again, this is a story. You'll all relate to me. The more tragedy I'll tell you about myself, the more you'll relate to me, right? Because that's real. So please have a villain. And talk about the obstacle. So villain here is your obstacle, your challenge. And that should be there in the story. What are you fighting? Like, my time is fighting, I'm fighting against the time. What's the action you're taking? Has to come across in your story. And the result. There are 2 kinds of results. So one result is that I want this is the action I'm taking, and this is what I want. Or the other result can be left to the audience, right? I am fighting this battle. This is my challenge. What do you think should be done? And more often than not, if you have told your story well, the result will come from the person who's listening to your story. And you can shape the result which you want from your story by telling your story in this format. Simple, how do you tell your stories? Anyone, anywhere, tell your story with passion. You know, passion is not a prerogative of someone emotional. And being emotional, by the way, is not a bad thing. I think it's a cool thing. I think it's you should be proud of that. And any story you should say with your heart, anywhere. And that will always work. For me and for Indians, I would say, and for all of us, I'm also guilty of this time and again, we speak in long sentences, right? We speak in long sentences and we write in long sentences. Great stories have shorter sentences. I'm in pain. I need a job. I need the best job. I need a job which takes me from here to there, right? I need a job where I can feel I'm okay and life is okay. You know, whatever. And just the formatting. See, it's a long workshop kind of a thing, so I've just put it in a nutshell, but just your sentences, what you speak should be very short, and it will be very powerful. My last line, experience is the best teacher. All of us know, we've all learnt it. But story, a compelling story is the close second, right? And I wish all of you to become great storytellers. And if any one of you here, because I'm very thankful to the organizers for calling me here, if any one of you need any help in your story pitch, what you're going to speak, whom to speak, or anything that you are working on, I'll be very happy to help. And I'll be very happy to help you define and refine whatever you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Shradha Sharma, for your metaphorical and inspiring stories. I request Dr. Nalan, Secretary, SNS Group of Institutions, to honor the guest speaker. With a big round of applause, please.